On the phone, we have former Boston Red Sox and Baseball Hall of Famer Jim Rice. How you doing today, Mr. Rice?
I'm doing fine. You guys doing pretty good?
We're doing good. Boston's doing a little better than us playing baseball this year than we are in Chicago.
Maybe, but I think it's early. I mean, you haven't even played a month yet. I mean, no use panicking now. It's only not even a month.
When you don't win a World Series with the Cubs in over 100 years, you start to panic every year.
I tell you what, the thing about that, it's more fans than anything else. I don't think the players are not panicking. And you go to spring training, you're not playing with your full squad. You have so many players in spring training, so the guys are still adjusting. Guys going to have a lot of at-bats in spring training. Pitchers probably have a lot of innings pitched in spring training. So now they're adjusting, and, of course, you got to think about the weather also. So many factors that are in the first month and a half of the season. Depends on where you are. It depends on where you're playing. You know, inside is much better than playing on the outside when you're in Chicago. So you look at some of the teams that are playing inside, some of the teams in Arizona, some of the teams in Florida, even in Boston right now, we're getting pretty good weather.
Growing up in Anderson, South Carolina, most of your childhood, you went to segregated schools.
No. My last year, only 1 year.
You went to an integrated school your last year, right?
Yes.
What was that transition like?
It wasn't really a transition. It was my last year. You know, back then you had to have what, like 12 units, and when I went to school my last year, I only had to have 1 unit. So really, I decided to go to school to take 1 class. And so, as far as going to school and taking 1 class, you still saw some of your friends that you were over in the segregated school. So it's still, to me, it was the same, because really you didn't have to be at school the whole, I guess maybe the whole day. So mainly what I did, I tried to take my last class, which was English. My last class was the last period. And so the last period would get me back into basketball, would get me back into football, and would get me back into baseball. So that's what I did. So I only had to have 1 class, but I took more than 1 class. I took 3 classes, because my high school coach, 2 of them was in psychology and sociology.
Was baseball
my last year?
Was baseball your best sport in high school, or was football or basketball?
I think I was a pretty good football player. I had a full ride to Nebraska, but I turned that down. And so baseball I had been playing all my life, but I could play both of them. It wasn't a big deal. I was a wide receiver. I was a defensive halfback, so it wasn't a big deal to go from baseball to football.
You were drafted number 1 by Boston. Were you anticipating the Red Sox would take you?
No, I don't think you anticipated anyone's going to take you, because back then I didn't have any idea about the draft. I didn't know I was being drafted by the Red Sox. I was out playing baseball, and the Red Sox drafted me. So to me, it didn't matter what team drafted me. I had an option of playing baseball or going to college.
It had to be tough to turn down Nebraska, though, in the 70s, because they were a football powerhouse back then.
Well, you look at Nebraska and you look at my career. How'd that come out?
You made the right decision.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
You started off at single-A ball in Williamsport in 71, and then in 72, you were in Winter Haven in the Florida State League. All I can remember about the Florida State League was a lot of heat and humidity.
Well, just like anything else, I mean, when you're playing sports, you want to stay warm. And, of course, by being in Florida State, you played in all the ballparks that you had Major League spring training in. And so the only thing it was giving you the distance as far as Major League parks to play in. And so for anyone to play in Florida State, back then, if you had 17, 18 home runs, 20 home runs in Florida State, which I think they played like 60-something games, that's pretty good. And it showed you that you at least have the power that if they bring you up to Major League, you can hit all Major League parks.
How big of a transition was it? How big of a transition was it when you went up from the minors to the Red Sox?
It was big because you really know anyone. I mean, you saw guys in spring training, but you still didn't have an idea how they was going to pitch you or how they was going to defense you. So you had to learn the offense and defense. The offense as far as what you can do and what your team's doing with you, and the defense to be able to play against the other guys. But still, when you talk about making some kind of adjustment, you had to know the pitches, you had to know the players, because you still had to play defense. So it was adjustment. The adjustments you had to make in the minor leagues, you had to make the same way in the major league. The guys in the major league were just a little more advanced.
Your manager at Boston to start off with was Gerald Johnson. Is he the guy that said, "Okay, you made the team, you're coming north"?
No, they don't have to tell me I made the team. I knew I made the team. They couldn't do anything with me because I had won the Triple Crown with a month ago in spring training. So all they had to put me in the big leagues to trade me. So I knew I had made the team coming out of our spring training. I mean, I didn't have anything to prove going back down to the minor leagues unless they wanted to trade me.
Did your teammate, did Carl Yastrzemski and Carlton Fisk kind of help you with the transition, or did any other teammates?
No. Johnny Pesci was my hitting instructor. Like I said, I had been in big league camp for 3 years. So as far as making any kind of transition, you made the transition in spring training because you were there with major league players, Carl Yastrzemski, Rico, Carlton Fisk. And so going to spring training in the big leagues 3 years in a row and playing against major league ball players, you didn't really have to make a transition. You just go out and play. It's not like you reinvented the game. If you got the ability to play Major League Baseball, you got the ability to play baseball. What you do is mainly fine-tune your tools, and that's what it's all about, knowing what you need to work on, what you can do and what you can't do. And that's it. You don't need anyone to hold your hand. And those guys were not going to hold your hand because they had something to do themselves. You had to learn. They'll find somebody that can learn a little faster than you.
As a rookie, you batted .309, hit 22 home runs, drove in 102 runs batted in. Normally, that's going to win you Rookie of the Year. But you had a teammate in Freddie Lynn who took that title.
Yeah, well, Freddie was in post-play. He was in post-play in the playoffs. He was in post-play in the World Series. I had a broken hand. I broke my hand with probably 9 days to go in the season. Burnwood broke my hand in Detroit. And so I couldn't play in the postseason. But my numbers were just as good as Freddie. And Freddie played, and he did an outstanding job in post play in World Series. And that's how he got it. I was glad for him, and that was it. And eventually, later on, I came back and I won the MVP.
You mentioned you won the Triple Crown in the minor leagues in '74. A lot of power hitters don't hit for a high average. What was your success for hitting for a high average and also keeping your power?
Just try to be short and quick. Just try to hit it solid. I don't think anyone can give you a secret as far as hitting for a high average. You got to get talent, eye-hand coordination. You just hit the ball where they throw it, and nobody's hitting the base hit. You can't guide the ball. That's what it's all about. Just see it, hit, and have fun.
What's playing left field in Fenway like?
I hear you.
What's playing left field? Yeah, what's playing left field in Fenway Park?
You really can't tell anyone. You really can't describe it because the person really, he or she that may ask you that question has to go out there and try to play that wall. But now it's a different wall. When I played it, it was all 10. This is more of a plexi type of wall would give you a truer bounce. So you're talking about two different walls. This wall here is much easier to play. I think players shouldn't have any trouble playing this wall. When I played it, you had 10, you had concrete, you didn't have any padding. So it was a different wall. You're talking about two different walls, really.
Was playing left field in Fenway Park tougher than playing left field in any other park?
I don't think so. Because I think if you go out there and work at your home team field, it's an advantage for you. When you go out on another field, it should be a piece of cake. The toughest thing about playing the outfield is the way the sun sets. If you're playing a lot of day games, the most difficult field will probably be right field. Most of the time, the sun sets in right field. There's only maybe 2 or 3 cities that the sun sets in left field. So forget about playing the wall. The most difficult thing to play is the sun. You can't do it. I mean, you just don't know what Mother Nature's going to do. But as far as playing the wall, that's my home field. I knew everything about the wall that I needed to know.
As the Red Sox left fielder, you were following in the footsteps of a couple of guys who had pretty good careers. Ted Williams, Carl Yastrzemski. Did you feel any sort of burden?
No. I mean, Carl had to play behind Williams. I had to play behind Yaz. So we all three are different type of players, and the way he patrolled left field and the way I patrolled left field was entirely different. And of course, you had different hitters. And so the three of us had different hitters. You talking about different weathers. I don't think we all had the same kind of weather on the same day. So we all had different ways of playing the left field. Yaz probably played shallow. Williams probably played a little further back than me. I gave the lines away because you can't protect the line anyway. So you had different ideas of how to play. But also, you got to think about the hitter. You got to think about the situation. You play the situation. You don't play the wall. You play the situation.
When you won the MVP that year, you also led the league in triples. No one's ever done that with the amount of home runs and triples you had in that season. Was it your speed that got you the triples, or just you knew how to run the bases?
I knew how to run the base, and you hit guys just look for doubles. You hit the ball. I was more of a right field, gap-to-gap type of hitter. I had power, and I just hit the ball off the wall. I did some kind of hitting as far as getting out to the outfield and hitting the wall and giving guys bad angles with the ball coming out the wall. I took advantage of my speed.
That 78 season, did it feel like every time you swung the bat you were going to get a hit?
I felt like I did some damage. I don't know about as far as hitting, but the damage was that if a guy's on third base, you hit a ball to the right side, you get the run. Man on second base, you hit the ball to the outfield, the guy advanced to third. So not necessarily getting base hits, but still you had to be able to do a little team offering and be able to maneuver the ball around to get the guys in scoring position.
That first World Series you went to, what was that like?
I don't know. I didn't play in it because I had a broken hand. I broke my hand in '75, so I didn't play in the World Series. I was sitting on the bench.
How hard was it on you, knowing that? Listen, you know what? I think I can make a difference.
No, I knew I couldn't make any difference because I was on the disabled list, and they couldn't take me off the disabled list, so I couldn't make a difference. If I wasn't on the disabled list, I felt like I could have played. I would have played, but I was on the disabled list. So once you're on the disabled list, they put me on the disabled list after that time. They could not take me off the disabled list.
Is the story true that you ripped off your cast and went to the higher-ups in the organization and said you were ready to play, and they said, no, you're not?
Yeah, I did, but like I said, I was on the disabled list. Regardless of what they said, I couldn't play anyway because that was the rule. I had to stay on the disabled list. I think I was on like a 30-day disabled list because it was broken. So there's no way for me to come off. So that's what they put me on. They put me on a 30-day disabled list, not a 15. It's a 30-day disabled list. And so I had to stay on the disabled list for 30 days.
When you went to the next World Series, what was that like?
The next World Series was entirely different because I was playing pretty good. I was hitting very well, and I brought good numbers to the World Series. And so that was, I think, anytime you play in the World Series or anytime you open the season up, once you play that first game or once you have that first play, it's just like any other game. The difference is the way that people act because of the World Series.
What was it like when the ball went through Buckner's legs?
It was just a play that he probably took his eye off the ball. There's going to be winners. There's going to be losers. There's going to be guys who make mistakes. and teams will take advantage of it. Ball went through Buckner leg. Mets took advantage of it. They won the World Series. We went home. That's nothing you can do. It's only going to be one winner, and that's it. You accept what was dealt with you. I don't think he tried to miss the ball. I don't think he had a bet on the game, so he took it off the ball. The ball could have taken a bad hop. I don't know, but that's the way that's the way it was. I mean, if you look at the World Series at the Red Sox, no one thought that the Red Sox would have won the World Series. Everyone thought Toronto was going to win. The way Toronto had their club, the way Tampa Bay had their club, no one, even all the writers in Boston, had already given it to Toronto. But they didn't show up. Everyone thought the Yankees were going to win. Yes, but they didn't show up. The Red Sox showed up. So it's just the way the ball rolls.